Most men think betrayal begins in a bedroom, but the truth is far more dangerous. It begins in a quiet moment, a message that should have stayed professional, a compliment that lands a little too deep, a married woman who smiles longer than she should, not because she planned to cross a line, but because some part of her has been starving for attention, warmth, and desire. Folks, many men do not understand this. They see the ring and assume the story is closed. They assume marriage means safety, loyalty, and emotional discipline. But human nature is not simple. When a woman feels unseen, when her home has become routine, when her husband talks to her like a roommate instead of a woman, attention from another man can feel dangerously alive. Listen carefully. This is not about chasing another man's wife. This is about understanding the psychology of temptation, the slow erosion of boundaries, and the stoic discipline required to see desire before it controls you. Because the man who understands temptation does not become its slave. He reads the signs. He sees the void. He recognizes the moment when innocent attention starts becoming emotional fuel. In this video, you are going to learn why emotional emptiness becomes dangerous, how justification begins, why novelty can feel so intoxicating, and where the first line is crossed. Stay with me, because once you understand this pattern, you will never look at attraction, marriage, or self-control the same way. Let's get into it. Number 1. The hidden emotional void. Here is the truth, folks. A marriage does not become vulnerable because one person suddenly wakes up evil. It becomes vulnerable when one person starts feeling unseen for too long. That is the hidden emotional void. It is not always loud. It does not always show up as shouting, fighting, or slammed doors. Sometimes it looks ordinary. Two people sitting at the same dinner table, talking about bills, groceries, appointments, repairs, and what needs to get done before Monday morning. Everything appears stable from the outside, but inside, something is drying up. A woman can be married, live in a nice house, share a bed with her husband, and still feel emotionally alone. That is what most men miss. They think presence is the same as connection. They think providing, paying bills, mowing the lawn, and being physically there means the relationship is safe. But my friend, a woman can respect those things and still feel like nobody has looked into her soul in years. Take Mark, 52, from Ohio. He has been married to Diane, 47, for 21 years. Mark is not a bad man. He works hard, comes home tired, keeps the house running, and believes he is doing his part. But over time, every conversation with Diane has become practical. Did you call the insurance company? Did the kids text back? What time is the appointment? He does not ask what she is dreaming about anymore. He does not notice when she changes her hair. He does not look at her like a woman. He looks at her like part of the furniture of his life. Then, one day, Diane gets a compliment from a man at work. Nothing vulgar, nothing dramatic. Just, "You look good today." And suddenly something in her wakes up. Not because she planned anything, not because she is trying to destroy her marriage, but because that small sentence touched a place that had been starving. That is where danger begins. Let me be clear. This is not about blaming one side. It is about understanding human nature. People crave to be seen. They crave warmth, attention, and emotional recognition. When that need is ignored long enough, the mind starts looking for relief. A conversation becomes exciting. A text becomes something to anticipate. A glance becomes a spark. The outside attention feels powerful because it gives her back a version of herself she thought had disappeared. This is why Stoicism matters. The Stoic man does not panic when he sees this truth. He studies it. He understands that desire often enters through emptiness, not through logic. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to watch the movements of the mind. That is the lesson here. The danger is not only the other man. The danger is the unguarded need inside the person who feels invisible. And men need to hear this too. If you are married, do not assume loyalty survives on routine alone. A woman does not stop needing to feel chosen because vows were spoken years ago. She does not stop wanting emotional presence because the mortgage is paid. If you are single, do not mistake a married woman's hunger for attention as permission to cross a line. That hunger may be real, but so are the consequences. The hidden void is powerful because it feels innocent at first. It whispers, "I just want to feel alive again." But if no one brings awareness to it, that whisper can become a fire. If this hits home, write this in the comments: I see the void. Stay with me because the next part reveals why attention can feel so intoxicating once that emptiness has been ignored. Number 2. When attention feels intoxicating. Let us be honest, folks. Attention becomes dangerous when it lands on a place that has been ignored for too long. At first, it does not feel like temptation. It feels like relief. It feels like air entering a room that has been closed for years. A married woman may tell herself it is harmless. A compliment, a smile, a message that makes her feel interesting again. Nothing serious, nothing physical, nothing she needs to confess. But that is exactly why it is powerful. The most dangerous attention is not the loud kind. It is not the man who comes in obvious, aggressive, and reckless. It is the subtle kind. The man who listens. The man who notices the small change in her voice. The man who remembers what she said last week. The man who makes her feel like a woman again, not just a wife, not just a mother, not just the person who keeps the house from falling apart. That kind of attention can feel intoxicating because it awakens desire without demanding anything at first. It gives her a taste of being chosen. And my friend, when someone has gone years feeling emotionally overlooked, even a small taste can feel stronger than it should. This is where Stoicism becomes more than philosophy. It becomes protection. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That applies to desire, attention, ego, and emotional hunger. If a person cannot master the pull of being wanted, then that feeling becomes the master. They stop choosing with wisdom and start reacting to the high. And make no mistake, attention can create a high. Not because the other person is magical, not because the marriage is automatically over, but because novelty lights up the mind. The new voice, the new energy, the new look in someone else's eyes, it can create a rush that routine no longer provides. Stability is necessary, but stability without warmth can start to feel like a cage. That is why so many lines are crossed slowly. She tells herself she just enjoys the conversation. Then she starts waiting for the next message. Then she checks her phone before bed. Then she smiles at something she would not want her husband to read. The mind does not call it betrayal yet. It calls it harmless. It calls it friendship. It calls it something she deserves. But here is the truth. When attention becomes a secret source of emotional pleasure, it is no longer innocent. It is becoming fuel. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is the lesson here. You may not control who gives attention. You may not control who flatters, notices, or tempts. But you can control whether that attention becomes a doorway. That is where real self-command begins. For men watching, understand this carefully. If you are married, do not let your woman starve emotionally while assuming your ring protects the relationship. A ring is a promise, not a shield. If you are single, do not confuse her response to attention with true availability. Sometimes she is not choosing you. She is chasing the feeling of being alive again. And if you are the man tempted by a married woman, Stoicism demands discipline. A weak man follows the thrill. A strong man sees the cost before the fire spreads. If you understand the danger of attention, write this in the comments: I guard desire. Stick with me because the next part shows why the need to feel seen can pull someone closer to the edge without them even noticing in real time. Number 3. The desire to feel seen. Let me tell you something most men learn too late, folks. Being loved is not always the same as being seen. A woman can have a husband, a home, a routine, and a life that looks steady from the outside, yet still feel like no one truly notices her anymore. That is where the desire to feel seen becomes dangerous. It is not just about beauty. It is not just about attraction. It is about identity. It is about wanting someone to look at her and remember there is still a woman under all the roles she carries. Think about Robert, 56, from Arizona, and his wife Karen, 51. Robert is a decent man. He has provided for his family. He fixed the roof, paid the bills, raised 2 kids, and never missed a mortgage payment. But somewhere along the way he stopped seeing Karen as Karen. She became the schedule keeper, the grocery planner, the grandmother, the one who reminded him about doctor appointments. He did not mean to make her invisible, but intention does not erase impact. Then Karen starts volunteering at a local charity event. There is a man there who does something Robert has not done in years. He asks what she thinks. He listens without checking his phone. He laughs at her dry humor. He notices that she has opinions, taste, memory, energy, and a private world inside her. Nothing improper happens, but something emotional happens. She feels seen. And my friend, that feeling can be more seductive than people admit. When a woman feels seen, she feels alive. She feels chosen in the present moment, not remembered as part of someone's past commitment. That is why this desire can become so powerful. It does not announce itself as danger, it arrives as warmth. It says, finally someone notices me. Finally someone hears me. Finally, I am not just useful. I am wanted. That is the emotional doorway. In the original pattern we are studying, this is where the small moments begin to matter. The conversation that lasts a little longer, the look that lingers, the message that makes her heart move before her mind catches up. She may still love her husband. She may still respect her marriage. But the part of her that feels unseen starts leaning toward the person who gives her a reflection she has been missing. Now hear me clearly. This does not excuse betrayal. A Stoic man does not confuse explanation with permission. Understanding the void does not mean feeding it. It means seeing the weakness before it becomes a disaster. Desire becomes dangerous when it is left unexamined. Attention becomes dangerous when it is allowed to replace discipline. For married men, this is a warning. Do not let familiarity make you blind. Do not treat the woman beside you like furniture just because she has been there for years. See her, ask questions, notice her effort, speak to the part of her that existed before the marriage, before the children, before the duties. A woman who feels seen at home is far less likely to crave being seen somewhere else. For single men, this is a warning. If a married woman responds to your attention, understand what may be happening. She may not be choosing you. She may be responding to a wound. A strong man does not build his ego on another man's neglected marriage. He keeps his standards high even when temptation smiles at him. If this truth makes sense, write this in the comments. I see clearly. Let's keep going, because the next part shows how routine drains passion until even good people start craving danger. Number 4. How routine kills passion. Here is something men do not want to admit, folks. Routine can protect a marriage, but it can also bury the passion inside it. Routine pays the bills. Routine keeps the house running. Routine gets the kids raised, the groceries bought, the appointments made, and future planned. There is nothing wrong with routine when it serves the relationship, but when routine replaces curiosity, touch, laughter, desire, and emotional presence, it becomes a quiet poison. This is where many marriages begin to weaken, not through one dramatic betrayal, not through one explosive fight, but through the slow death of attention. The conversations become predictable. The evenings become mechanical. The same couch, the same television, the same tired answers, the same silence before sleep. And after enough years, two people can start feeling less like lovers and more like co-workers managing a household. Now listen carefully. Passion does not survive on memory alone. A woman does not feel desired today because you desired her 15 years ago. A man does not feel respected today because he was admired at the beginning. Love has to be renewed. Desire has to be awakened. Connection has to be chosen again and again, or it starts fading into habit. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." That applies to relationships too. People waste years assuming there will always be another night, another conversation, another chance to reach across the table and truly see the person in front of them. Then one day they wake up beside someone who feels familiar, but no longer feels close. That is when outside attention becomes dangerous. Not because novelty is always deeper. It usually is not. But novelty feels alive. It breaks the pattern. It interrupts the numbness. A new conversation has tension. A new smile has uncertainty. A new compliment carries electricity because it has not been worn down by routine. That is why a small spark outside the marriage can feel stronger than a steady flame at home that has been neglected. This is the psychological trap. Stability is good, but stability without desire can make the heart restless. Predictability is comforting, but too much predictability can make a person crave surprise. And when someone has been living inside emotional repetition for years, even a small moment of fresh attention can feel intoxicating. Stoicism does not tell you to chase every feeling. It teaches you to examine feelings before they rule you. The weak person says, "I feel alive, so it must be right." The disciplined person asks, "What is this feeling costing me? What line am I approaching? What part of me is hungry and why?" That is the difference between impulse and wisdom. For the men watching, this lesson cuts both ways. If you are married, do not let comfort make you lazy. Do not assume that because she is there, she feels chosen. Presence without attention becomes emptiness. Provision without warmth becomes duty. Familiarity without appreciation becomes invisibility. And if you are single, do not let another person's boredom become your playground. A married woman craving excitement may seem flattering, but a Stoic man sees beyond the thrill. He understands that desire without discipline can destroy more than one life. Before we move forward, if you want deeper lessons on Stoic discipline, attraction boundaries, and emotional control, consider joining as a member. It supports this channel and gives focused guidance for men serious about mastering themselves. If you understand this, write this in the comments: "I choose discipline." Stay tuned because the next part reveals why novelty feels dangerous when the heart lives on autopilot. Number 5. The dangerous spark of novelty. Let us cut through the noise, folks. Novelty is dangerous because it makes the ordinary feel dead before you have even asked whether the ordinary was actually neglected. That is the trap. A married woman may have a husband, a home, years of shared history, and a life that looks secure. But then something new enters her world. A new voice, a new laugh, a new man who does not know all her habits yet. He has not seen her tired, frustrated, aging, stressed, or repeating the same stories. To him, she feels fresh. To her, his attention feels like a mirror that makes her look younger, lighter, and more alive. Think about Steve, 54, from North Carolina, and Melissa, 48, who has been married for almost 2 decades. Melissa loves her husband. She is not searching for an affair, but her life has become predictable. Same mornings, same commute, same dinner conversations, same tired silence by 9 at night. Then, a new consultant joins her office, a confident man who asks about her ideas, remembers her favorite coffee, and makes her laugh in a way she has not laughed in years. Nothing dramatic happens at first. That is what makes it dangerous. It begins with harmless energy, a little teasing, a private joke, a longer conversation after a meeting, a text about work that slowly becomes personal. Melissa tells herself she just enjoys the freshness. She tells herself it is nice to feel interesting again. But deep down, the spark is not just about him. It is about the version of herself she feels when he is around. That is what novelty does. It does not always give you something better. It gives you something different, and the mind can mistake different for deeper. This is why the original lesson matters. Human beings are drawn to the unknown. The familiar can be valuable, loyal, and real, but the unknown carries tension. It has mystery. It has possibility. It lets people imagine without dealing with the full weight of reality. A man outside her marriage does not come with unpaid bills, family stress, old arguments, or years of emotional baggage. He comes wrapped in imagination, and imagination can be more intoxicating than truth. But here is where a disciplined man has to see clearly. That spark is not proof of destiny, it is proof of stimulation. It is the nervous system reacting to what is new, forbidden, and emotionally charged. And when a person does not understand that, they start worshipping the feeling. They think, maybe this means something. Maybe this is what I have been missing. Maybe this is who I really am. No, my friend. Sometimes it is just hunger wearing a beautiful mask. For married men, this is a warning. Do not let your marriage become so predictable that another man looks exciting just because he is paying attention. Bring energy back into your own house. Ask better questions. Create moments that break the routine. Look at your woman like she is still someone you are learning, not someone you have already figured out. For single men, this is also a warning. If novelty gives you power over a married woman, do not confuse that with honor. A weak man enjoys being the escape. A stoic man refuses to become the doorway to someone else's ruin. That moment is where character matters, because desire reveals the man you are when no one is watching quietly. If this lands, write this in the comments. I resist temptation. Don't go anywhere, because the next part shows how innocent conversations slowly become personal before people realize the line has already moved. Number 6. When innocent talks turn personal. Let me be clear, folks. The line is rarely crossed in one reckless moment. More often it moves inch by inch through conversations that look harmless from the outside. At first, it is ordinary. A quick message about work, a comment about the weather, a joke shared during a slow afternoon. Nothing that would make anyone panic, nothing that sounds like betrayal. But then, the tone changes. The messages become warmer. The timing becomes more private. The subject moves from what happened today to what you feel, what you miss, what you wish someone understood. That is when innocent talk starts becoming personal. This is the stage where many people deceive themselves. They say, we are just talking. They say, I am allowed to have friends. They say nothing physical has happened, so nothing wrong has happened. But my friend, emotional boundaries are not only crossed with hands. They are crossed with secrets, intimacy, and emotional access that should belong inside the marriage. Epictetus said, first, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. That is not just a quote for discipline in business or hardship. It applies to desire. If a person says, I want to be loyal, then their private choices must match that identity. Loyalty is not proven only when temptation is obvious. Loyalty is proven when the conversation could go deeper and you choose to keep the boundary. The dangerous part is that personal conversations feel meaningful. They feel mature. They feel emotionally rich. A married woman may start sharing frustrations about her husband, her loneliness, her disappointments, or the part of herself she feels has disappeared. The other man listens. He validates. He says the right thing. And slowly he becomes the place where she deposits emotions that should have been handled with honesty, courage, or distance. That is how attachment forms. Not through one dramatic confession, through repetition. A message here, a secret there, a late reply that feels exciting, a little emotional dependence wrapped in the language of friendship. And once she starts feeling understood by someone outside the marriage, she may begin comparing that emotional high to the tired reality at home. That comparison is unfair because the outside connection is not carrying the full weight of real life. It is not dealing with bills, illness, family pressure, aging parents, old wounds, or years of disappointment. It gets the curated version, the soft voice, the hidden desire, the emotional hunger. That is why it feels cleaner than it really is. Marcus Aurelius warned himself to look beneath appearances. That is the Stoic move here. Do not be fooled by the surface of a conversation. Ask what it is becoming. Ask what it is feeding. Ask whether this talk would still feel innocent if the spouse were reading every word. If the answer makes the heart tighten, the line has already moved. For the men watching, understand this. If you are married, protect your home by protecting your attention. Do not give another woman the emotional access your wife has been asking for. If you are single, do not let a married woman turn you into her emotional hiding place. It may feel flattering, but it is not strength. It is borrowed intimacy built on unstable ground. A Stoic man does not need secret access to feel powerful. He needs clean boundaries, self-command, and the courage to walk away before desire starts writing excuses. If you understand this, write this in the comments. I keep boundaries. Stay with me, because the next part reveals how the mind begins to justify desire once the emotional door has been opened. Number 7. The mind justifies desire. Here is the part most people do not want to face, folks. The mind can make almost anything sound reasonable once the heart already wants it. Desire rarely walks in and says, "I am about to ruin your life." It comes dressed as comfort. It speaks in soft excuses. It says, "I am just enjoying the attention." It says, "I am not doing anything wrong." It says, "I deserve to feel good after everything I have carried." And once those sentences begin, the danger is no longer outside the person, it is inside their own thinking. Think about Brian, 58, from Florida, and Vanessa, 46, a married woman he meets through a business networking group. Vanessa has been feeling overlooked at home for years. Her husband is not cruel, but he is distant, distracted, and emotionally unavailable. Brian listens. He remembers details. He makes her feel attractive without being obvious. At first, Vanessa tells herself it is innocent. They are just talking after meetings. Then it becomes coffee. Then late messages. Then conversations she deletes before going to bed. Now watch what happens in her mind. The first time she hides something, she feels guilt. The second time, she explains it away. By the third time, she has a full story prepared. My husband does not listen anyway. Brian understands me. I have given enough to everyone else. I am allowed to have something for myself. That is the justification game. This is where the original lesson cuts deep. People do not usually betray their values all at once. They negotiate with them. They shrink the meaning of their actions until the action feels acceptable. A secret message becomes just a conversation. Flirting becomes harmless fun. Emotional dependence becomes friendship. And the more they repeat the excuse, the more believable it becomes. Let's not dress this up. The brain hates guilt. Guilt is heavy. It tells you that your behavior and your values are not standing in the same room anymore. So instead of changing the behavior, many people change the story. They rewrite the situation until they can live with themselves. That is how a person who once believed in loyalty can slowly become someone who protects a secret connection. And my friend, this is not only about women. Men do this too. Anyone can do it. A man justifies texting another woman because his wife has been cold. A woman justifies emotional closeness with another man because her husband stopped noticing her. The pattern is the same. Desire asks for permission, and the mind starts forging the signature. This is why Stoic awareness matters. A disciplined person does not trust every excuse that feels comforting. He questions it. He asks, "Am I being honest, or am I protecting a desire I do not want to surrender?" That one question can stop a disaster before it grows teeth. For married men, understand this. If your relationship is weak, face it directly. Do not wait until your wife finds validation elsewhere and then act shocked. For single men, if a married woman starts giving you private emotional access, do not let your ego call it destiny. Sometimes you are not the chosen man. You are the escape hatch. The mind justifies desire by making the wrong road feel deserved. That is why boundaries must be decided before the temptation arrives. Once the feeling gets strong enough, the mind will search for any argument that keeps it alive. If this truth lands, write this in the comments: I question desire. Stick with me because the next part shows why emotional intimacy can cross the line long before anything physical ever happens inside. Number 8. Emotional intimacy crosses lines. Let us get honest, folks. A person does not have to touch another body to betray the trust inside a marriage. Sometimes the line is crossed in the mind first, in the private place, where secrets are protected, feelings are fed, and another person becomes the one they run to before their own spouse. That is emotional intimacy crossing the line. It begins with sharing what should have stayed guarded: frustrations about the marriage, loneliness, disappointment, the things she no longer says at home because she believes no one is listening. Then another man becomes the listener. He becomes the safe place. He becomes the one who understands. And because nothing physical has happened, the mind calls it harmless. But harmless things do not need to be hidden. That is the test, my friend. If the messages have to be deleted, if the tone changes when the spouse walks in, if certain conversations would create shame if they were read aloud, then the boundary has already been crossed. Emotional betrayal lives in secrecy long before it shows itself in action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Think about that. Whatever a person keeps feeding in private begins to shape them. If she keeps feeding resentment toward her husband and tenderness toward another man, her inner world starts changing color. The marriage begins to feel heavier, while the outside connection feels warmer, not because the outside connection is truly stronger, but because it is being watered every day. This is why emotional intimacy can be so dangerous. It feels clean, it feels mature, it feels like someone finally understands. But underneath that, comfort attachment is forming. She starts saving stories for him. She starts wondering what he would think. She starts craving his response. And slowly her emotional loyalty shifts. The Stoics understood that what controls your attention controls your life. Epictetus taught that we should be careful with impressions because the first thought is not always the truth. A feeling may appear powerful, but that does not make it wise. A connection may feel deep, but that does not make it honorable. Desire often borrows the language of healing so it can enter places it does not belong. Now listen closely. This is not only about women. Men do this too. Any person who lets someone outside the relationship become their secret emotional home is stepping into dangerous territory. A marriage cannot survive if the deepest parts of one partner are being handed to someone else behind closed doors. For married men, this is a wake-up call. Do not ignore emotional distance until someone else becomes the comfort your wife should have found with you. Do not assume that because nothing physical happened, nothing serious happened. Emotional access is powerful. When another man becomes the one she trusts with her hidden self, the foundation is already cracking. For single men, hear this clearly. If a married woman brings you her pain, her loneliness, and her private longing, do not mistake that access for love. Sometimes you are not the man of her future. You are the place she hides from her present. A disciplined man does not build his pride on secret intimacy. He steps back before the damage spreads. Emotional intimacy crosses lines when attention becomes attachment, when comfort becomes dependence, and when secrecy becomes normal. That is the moment wisdom must interrupt desire. If you understand this, write this in the comments. I protect loyalty. Let's keep going because the next part reveals why the first forbidden step is often the hardest one to resist and the easiest one to repeat. Number 9. The first forbidden step. Here is where everything changes, folks. The first forbidden step is never just a step. It is a doorway. Before that moment, a person can still hide behind imagination. They can say nothing has happened. They can say, I am only curious. They can pretend the messages, the glances, the emotional tension, and the private excitement are still under control. But the first time they do something they know they should not do, the mind shifts. The old boundary breaks, and a new normal begins forming. That is why this stage is dangerous. Think about Daniel, 55, from Texas, and Rachel, 49, a married woman he meets at a continuing education seminar. Rachel has been feeling invisible in her marriage for years. Daniel does not come in loud or aggressive. He is calm, attentive, and easy to talk to. They start with normal conversation. Then they exchange numbers for professional reasons. Then the messages become warmer. Then, one evening after a long day, Rachel agrees to meet him for coffee without telling her husband. Now, some people would say it is just coffee, but that is how the mind protects the first step. It shrinks it. It softens it. It removes the danger from the language. But deep down, Rachel knows something has changed. She fixes her hair before seeing him. She feels nervous in a way she has not felt in years. She checks her phone twice before leaving the house, and when her husband asks where she is going, she gives a half-truth. That half-truth is the crack in the wall. My friend, the first forbidden step is powerful because it teaches the mind that the line can be crossed and survived. The first hidden message feels heavy. The next one feels easier. The first private meeting feels risky. The next one feels more natural. The first lie burns in the chest. The next lie comes smoother. That is how people become someone they never thought they could become. The original lesson calls this the breaking point, and it is exactly that. Not always because something physical happens right away, but because the person has now acted in service of the secret. They are no longer just feeling tempted. They are protecting the temptation. They are making room for it. They are building a life where the forbidden thing has a place to breathe. And let us be plain, this is where many people lose themselves. They tell themselves they can stop whenever they want. They say this is the last time. They say I just needed to feel alive. But desire is rarely satisfied by one taste. Once it is fed, it asks for more. That is why a strong man respects the first line. He does not wait until the fire is burning through the house before he admits there is smoke. For married men understand the warning. If your home has gone cold, do not ignore the signs until another man becomes the warmth. If your woman is drifting, do not only blame the outside world. Look at the distance inside the relationship too. But for single men, hear this even louder. If you become the man, a married woman takes her first forbidden step toward do not flatter yourself. You may feel chosen, but you may also be participating in the collapse of a life built over many years. A Stoic man does not need forbidden access to feel powerful. He chooses honor before appetite. If this hits you, write this in the comments. I honor boundaries. Stay tuned, because the final part shows how temptation stops being a spark and starts becoming control. Number 10. When temptation becomes control. Now we have reached the truth, folks. Temptation stops being a choice the moment a person starts arranging their life around it. In the beginning, temptation feels like a spark. It feels exciting, private, alive. A message comes in and the pulse jumps. A conversation gets deeper and the day feels less empty. A glance lingers and the mind starts building stories around it. But after enough repetition, that spark does not stay small. It becomes a pattern. Then the pattern becomes a habit. Then the habit starts giving orders. That is when temptation becomes control. This is the part most people underestimate. They believe they are still in command because they have not crossed the biggest visible line yet. They tell themselves they can stop whenever they want. They say, I am just enjoying this. I know my limits. I am not that kind of person. But my friend, the moment you need to keep convincing yourself that you are in control, control is already slipping. A person under temptation begins to live two lives. One life is public, clean, respectable, and normal. The other life is hidden, charged, and protected. The phone turns face down. Messages get deleted. Certain names are explained too quickly. The mind starts calculating. When can I reply? What should I say? How do I keep this from looking suspicious? At that point, desire is no longer visiting. It has moved in and started rearranging the furniture. This is exactly why the original lesson matters. A married woman who once only wanted to feel seen can become attached to the feeling another man gives her, not always to the man himself, but to the emotional state, the excitement, the attention, the younger version of herself, the feeling of being wanted without carrying the full weight of real marriage. That feeling can become addictive because it offers escape without immediate consequence. But consequences always arrive. The marriage begins to feel heavier because the secret feels lighter. The husband starts looking dull because the other man exists only in selected moments. Reality gets compared to fantasy, and fantasy usually wins because fantasy does not have bills, chores, illness, old arguments, or responsibility. It only has tension, novelty, and emotional oxygen. That is how temptation distorts perception. A Stoic man must understand this deeply. The problem is not desire itself. Desire is part of being human. The problem is desire without discipline. When appetite is allowed to lead, character follows behind in chains. And once a person becomes ruled by the thing they first called harmless, they stop acting from principle and start acting from hunger. So what is the lesson for you, my friend? If you are married, protect the emotional life of your home before someone else becomes the escape. Do not wait until distance becomes secrecy. Do not assume vows will do the work that presence, honesty, and attention require. If you are single, never mistake forbidden chemistry for real victory. A weak man enjoys being the temptation. A stronger man asks what kind of life he is helping destroy. And if you are facing temptation yourself, stop romanticizing it. Ask the hard question: is this making me freer, or is it making me weaker? Because anything you have to hide, feed, defend, and lie for is not passion anymore. It is control. The Stoic path is not cold. It is clear. It teaches you to see the fire before you step into it. It teaches you that strength is not proven by what you can attract, but by what you can refuse. If this final lesson speaks to you, write this in the comments: I master desire. Folks, today we broke down a truth most people ignore. Temptation does not begin with betrayal. It begins with emotional emptiness, quiet attention, private conversations, small justifications, and one forbidden step that becomes harder to reverse. The real value of this lesson is not learning how to chase danger. It is learning how to recognize it before it controls you. A Stoic man sees the pattern early. He protects his discipline, respects boundaries, and refuses to let desire turn him into a weaker version of himself. If you want deeper lessons on Stoic self-control, attraction, emotional discipline, and relationships, consider joining as a member. Your support helps this channel keep creating stronger, sharper content for men who are serious about mastering themselves. And if this video gave you clarity, subscribe to the channel so you do not miss tomorrow's lesson. Thank you for watching, my friend. Take care, stay disciplined, and I'll see you tomorrow.